What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to show you how to replace the EVAP Purge solenoid hose. This, like any other rubber hose under the hood of your vehicle, is going to get dried out over time, and I had noticed that mine was starting to get a little crusty. No leaks that I know of and when I inspected the hose, but it's something that can give you peace of mind and prevent a future issue down the road. So without further ado, let's get into it. Alright guys, so this is the hose. So I can show you it's a molded hose, and as you can see here, it's got some wear on it. It's just heat over time that has caused this to dry out a little bit. Mine seems perfectly fine overall, but it's just getting dried out, and what happens is after a while you're touching it, you start to get like a sooty material on your hands because the rubber itself is breaking down. So if I can point your attention right here, under the hood to the left of your brake booster, if you're staring at it from the front bumper, this is your purge valve solenoid. So this has to do with the charcoal canister in the rear of your vehicle, and what this does, is my understanding, is it controls the flow of the vapors that ultimately head into the charcoal canister. I'm not an expert on the system, but you know, a solenoid typically actuates something, and then the valves, you know, open and close. So that's kind of my rudimentary understanding of it. And anytime you have a hose that has a leak, it's going to cause, you know, idle issues, lean codes, all that sort of stuff. Leaks in hoses are not good. So if you come over here on the other side of my catch can, this is that hose. So if you see, it connects to the solenoid right here, and then it goes around the back of the intake. So this is the air intake box right here. Down below it is your intake manifold. So if you follow the hose, it goes around the back of the intake air box, and then it ends up right over here. And it goes down into the intake manifold. So one of your questions is, how do you get this hose off? So pretend my original hose is here. If you feel around towards the bottom, there's a little like button, and if I push it in with my thumb, it releases the connector and I'm able to slide it off. Okay, so you can see how now there is an exposed barb fitting that is located on this solenoid. So if we're looking here on the passenger side at the back, behind the air box, you're going to see the other end of the hose, and there's a 90-degree fitting right here. And this connects from the hose down to the intake manifold. And it's very hard to show you this, but there's a push button like there was on the driver's side, and you have to push that button in, and it's going to release the fitting from the nipple that's on the intake manifold. So I find it easiest to use a flat blade screwdriver, and so what I'm going to do is push in on that little button, and then off comes the hose. So you can see that I have released that fitting. So if you take a look here, this is the hose going behind the air box and attaching to the intake manifold. You can see this clip right here and these hose clamps, and I'll get to those later, but you need to pull the hose off, and the clip comes with it. So if you reach behind, you just pull it up and disconnect it from the intake manifold, and now you can pull the entire hose assembly out from behind the air box. So now that I've got my hose removed, I want to show you how I made this hose. So if we take a look, this is the factory hose, and the way that it worked was this kind of gradual bend here went to the driver's side where it goes onto the purge solenoid, and then this, you know, like 90-degree curve, this is what actually attached to the 90-degree fitting that goes down onto the intake manifold on the passenger side. So as you can see here, this original Ford hose now has no barbs, and that's because, like I said, I was able to remove them and simply attach them to my new hose. So the other thing that you'll want to reuse is this clip here. So if I can zoom in, this is just a simple clip. It's metal with plastic, and you can see I have these really nice hose clamps affixing it to my new hose. See if I can get that to focus. Okay, so literally that little bracket right here was just taped on to the original hose. See this right here? This is tape that Ford had holding that little bracket on. And as I had shown you, all this does is attach the hose down to the intake manifold. This little thing here, this little clip, you just simply press it down onto the intake manifold and it prevents the hose from moving around. Very simple, but again, these are the sort of OEM quality fixes that to me is worth reusing. So you're probably asking yourself, how did I make this new hose, know the length, etc. So I have my new hose, and this is all on the reel, okay? I already made it, but I'm just giving you an example. So what I did was I took this straight barb fitting connector here. It's already in my new hose, but pretend it isn't. And I inserted it into the end of the hose reel. And what I did was I then looped it, connected it to that purge valve, like it did on the original hose. And then I proceeded to place the new hose behind the intake manifold and have it come around to where it would end up at the 90-degree fitting location nipple on the intake manifold on the passenger side. And the reason I didn't just measure this existing hose is because it's already formed and I didn't want to have it be too short or too long. And so by placing it where it is on the solenoid and just kind of neatly routing it around the back of the air box like it is going to be when you finish, you'll have an idea of how long it needs to be, and then you can cut the hose accordingly. So then on my new hose, I took that clip. The things I do for you guys, by the way, I already did this and I'm disconnecting my truck. You better appreciate it. So I took this new clip, or the existing clip, sorry, and I took my new clamps. So I take the clip, and like I said, it's contoured, so it fits around the hose nicely. So I'm just gonna place the clip in the middle like I had it, and you can see these little fins on either side. That's what you're gonna clamp down on. I didn't use tape, I used nice hose clamps. So then once you have your clips on and you know it's in the right spot, I just go back over, feed the new hose around, I plug it in. On the driver's side, you heard the click. I come around to the passenger side. You can hear the click, and then I just reach back and push that connector back on, and that is all there is to it. And then I just started it up and checked for leaks, and there weren't any. Everything worked great, no issues. So hopefully that helps you guys get a nice, cheap OEM quality hose without having to go to the dealer and deal with the fact that this thing is discontinued, which means you're probably going to overpay on eBay when there's really no need. Ford gave you everything you needed. All you got to do is bring a little common sense and some new 3/8 interior diameter EVAP fuel hose in just a little bit of time, and you'll be back up and running. So that about wraps it up, guys. Let me know of any questions. I appreciate everyone who watches. And with that being said, we will talk to you in the next one. Take care.